Yo, what's going on? My name is Teacher Michael, and welcome back to another VIPKid Brand Ambassador video. Today's video was made in collaboration with VIPKid headquarters, and I'm recording this from Mermaid Theatre of Nova Scotia. And today's topic is going to be puppetry in the classroom. Throughout this video, I'm going to talk about different types of puppetry and how you can use puppets in your classroom, one, as a teaching tool, and two, to create a more fun and engaging class environment. But before we get into that, I want to give you a tour of this wonderful building. As you can see over my left shoulder, there are some interesting characters here, so why don't we go and meet a few more of them. So this is one of the production studio spaces where a lot of the puppets get carved, they get sewn, they get little finishing touches put on them, some of the eyes get applied, all types of things like that. So there is a lot of things that happen in this room, and I'm gonna show you some of these really cool characters, more than just Deb. So I hope you enjoyed that little tour of the Mermaid Theatre building. This is a very fun place to work, and we have a lot of fun creating puppet shows for kids. And that brings me to the topic of today's video. How can you use puppetry in your classroom to create a little bit more fun and a little bit more excitement? In this video, there are two main styles of puppetry that I'm going to be talking about. One of them is this. This is a hand puppet, okay? It's very basic, very simple. The other style of puppetry is more like this. This is a Muppet style puppet where the mouth can actually move. It doesn't matter if you're using a hand puppet or a Muppet style puppet. The first thing that you want to do is try to understand what your puppet can and cannot do. What I mean by that is, what are its capabilities and what are its limitations? With my hand puppet, there are a limited number of things that it can do. So this puppet can wave, it can clap, it can nod. Beyond that, my puppet can hold things like a ball. Thank you. It can also throw and catch. Now, if you're using a Muppet style puppet, what can that puppet do? I can talk. Yes, this puppet can talk. And if your puppet can talk, that means that it can also sing. La 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 la. And if your puppet can talk and sing, that means that it can also bite things. Ow! Yoshi, that was mean. Yeah, my puppet's name is Yoshi. And this puppet can also wave. Can you say hello to the people? Hello to the people. That's not exactly what I meant, but that'll do. So that's where I would begin. Just explore your puppet a little bit, play with it, have some fun, and find out what it can and what it can't do, and that's gonna dictate how you use it in your classroom. The next thing that I want to talk about is trying to create some sort of a relationship between you and your puppet. Now, with my puppets, they are both very different, they look different, they have different functionality, and because of that, I use them in different ways. My hand puppet, I use more like a teacher's assistant. For example, if I'm teaching the alphabet, let's say the letter A, I might get my puppet to hold the cue card for me. So we create this little relationship between the two of us that I am the teacher and this is my teaching assistant. A. I do the same thing when we are singing songs. Because this puppet doesn't have a movable mouth, I often get this puppet to hold my microphone and I sing the song. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And when I'm teaching words that have multiple syllables, sometimes I'll use the puppet to help me clap out those syllables. For example, baseball, baseball, baseball. Not only is the puppet something interesting for the child to look at, it's also helping me and supporting my lesson by becoming a little bit of a teaching tool. Now, in terms of creating a relationship between me and this little fur ball over here, we have a completely different dynamic. And part of that is dictated because this puppet does different things than my hand puppet. So a lot of times when I'm using Yoshi in the classroom, I will have him eat whatever I present to the kids. So if it is a cue card like this, A, rah, hum, hum, hum. Bad Yoshi, yeah, rah. Also with this puppet, because I don't consider myself a very strong singer, I often use Yoshi to sing the songs in the classroom. Old MacDonald had a farm. Another thing that can really help bring your puppet alive and really animate it is if you can move your puppet independently of your body. So when you're talking, if you can have your puppet look at you and maybe nod at what you're saying, that's gonna really create the illusion that your puppet is actually this living, breathing thing. So another point that I want to make is that you don't have to use your puppet for the whole entire lesson. In fact, I would argue that it's in your best interest to use it sparingly throughout your lesson. So what I normally do is I will introduce myself, then introduce my puppet. We will both sing the song together or do whatever the warm-up activity is, and then I put my puppet aside. Throughout the lesson, if I find that my students' attention is starting to fade and they're looking around, or if I just see a natural opportunity to use the puppet, that's when I'm gonna bring it back again. If your puppet is just there for the whole lesson and it's just kind of hanging out and not really doing anything, number one, it's not very interesting, and number two, it's not as exciting when you actually do get the puppet to do something. So if you're not using it, just leave it out of the frame. That way, when your puppet does all of a sudden come back into the frame, it's a lot more engaging. So let's recap what we've covered in this video. We've talked about the functionality of your puppet, trying to understand what it can and what it can't do. We've talked about trying to create a little bit of a rapport, a little bit of a relationship between you and your puppet. And we've also talked about trying to use your puppet sparingly throughout the lesson so that it is at its most effective. So that brings us to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you can take some of those puppetry techniques and ideas and apply it to the puppet that you use in your classroom. And if you do, let me know down in the comments how it worked and also how your student responded to it. Once again, my name is Teacher Michael. Thank you so much for watching, and until the next video, I will see you on the internet. Peace!